We're doing all kinds of updating. The brand's getting a little bit tweaked, and everything will be in place. And welcome to the viewers on Zebo TV out in Reno, Nevada, and all points west. I've missed y'all, and I'm back. And don't forget, Snowman in the Morning is getting its own YouTube channel. It is live. The show is there live, and we're going to move the show there off of Snowman Multimedia's channel very, very soon. Looking to get that second channel monetized. With all that being said, let's kick some ass.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning! Snowman here to all you Brock Purdy and San Francisco 49er haters. Shut up! I gotta thank you, Shane.
I mean, whatever happened to the games where breaking 100 points was, I don't know, unusual?
There was one word to sum up the All-Star weekend.
Trays. Cause we take this job so serious.
Splash Brothers, yes. Ray Allen, replace him with Steve Kerr. Reggie Miller, yeah.
What in the all types of blue hell?
Oh yeah!
Damn it, Cole.
I haven't even started yet, and you're in a fit of giggles.
That evil little EP of all EPs, I'm telling you.
Why do you think I love the man so much?
Right?
Good morning. Welcome to the Taco Tripped Out Tuesday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. Allison Moran will join us during hour 1. Got Chris Dietz scheduled for hour 2. And later on in season 11, just like Garth Brooks, with that mysterious third verse, there could be a mysterious third hour thrown into Snowman in the Morning. Because I have been up the last 2 nights. My brain just would not shut up.
I've had those nights.
It took, let me make the adjustment here. You know what it took for me to finally come to bed? Jody.
That'll do it.
You've been there.
Done
right?
that.
It took Jody walking in here through this green screen and giving me a massage.
Game over.
It's like, all right, baby, you win. I'm coming to bed.
Yep, that's a game over.
And fell flat on my ass.
Done that too many times.
Man, she just knows.
Mm-hmm.
You know what when we were in North Carolina, you know what she did as I'm picking on my wife but showing her love at the same time? You know what she did to me?
What?
I was on a roll one morning. I don't know, something had rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm on a roll. I'm on a rant and I'm live. Then Jody walked in and flashed me. Yeah, I had to take an extended break.
Yep.
You nod your head as if you speak from experience. Exactly. All right. We got a short version of the whip around presented by Fanatics. And it goes like this. Trent Williams and the 49ers are finalizing a big deal for the 36-year-old 11-time Pro Bowler to end his holdout. The numbers are yet to be released, but Trent Williams is expected to sign his contract extension today. And also, Christian McCaffrey has rejoined the team back from his injuries, so that Matt and Kurz can suck it right now. He has rejoined the team, and the 49ers appear whole as they go into week 1 against the New York Jets. And I'm doing that game.
That'll be fun.
Oh, brother.
McCoffey, we're sorry for the beatdown you're about to experience.
And it's going to be a beatdown.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to be a massacre.
Yep.
I hate saying it. No, I don't hate saying it that way because I don't like the Jets. It's not an outright hatred toward the Jets or McCoffey for that matter, but they're playing the 49ers, and I want the 49ers to whip their ass. Simply put.
I mean, there's no question around it. That's how it's going to be.
I want the 49ers on Monday Night Football to embarrass the Jets.
It'll happen.
And I had a friend who knows I'm a big time 49er fan. I had a friend ask me, he says, why do you have such hatred for the Jets? I don't have any hatred for the Jets. I just want the 49ers to embarrass them on Monday Night Football because they deserve it. And he says, why do they deserve it? I said, who is the Jets quarterback? And he couldn't even complete it. He said, Aaron Rodgers. I said, yeah. He goes, oh, that's the reason. Yes, I don't hate the Jets. I hate the hell out of Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And I want the 49ers to obliterate Aaron Rodgers.
He lasted 4 plays last season. He'll probably only last 3 plays this season.
No, I think he'll play a half after the Niners go up big in the first half. Because with Trent Williams signing his contract and McCaffrey back from an injury, they're whole again.
Yeah, 49ers.
And I have a surprise.
49ers go up 35-0. Aaron Rodgers says, "The hell with this. I ain't playing.
I'm out." Exactly. I have a surprise for you.
Oh, boy.
Please help me welcome back to Snowman in the Morning, the EP of all EPs, who has a kick-ass show himself called BS3 Presents The Morning Shift, as well as Total Football Talk and others, the one, the only, Cole Johnson. How are you, brother? Great to have you.
Doing good, Snowman. How you doing, Shane? It's good to see you, brother.
What up, Cole?
Man, that prayer you unleashed at the end of your show hit me. That's why I said thank you, because I needed that word.
Good.
While this is football week, or NFL football week, I should say, and we already know what's going to happen Monday night to Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, I will show you a game that A, I am doing, and B, I am concentrating on. It's this one from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. The Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. I'll have the call and the pregame show beginning at 12:30. And that is one reason why Cole is here. He's a Texans fan. I am a fan of the Colts, and we both agree this is going to be one heck of a matchup, Cole.
Well, yeah, and I mean, just go back excuse me, just go back 7 months. These two teams, it turned out it actually was for the AFC South. But at that moment, it was for a playoff spot, and I mean, it came down to the last possession. And if it weren't for an errant route run, we might be talking about the Colts actually advancing and not the Texans. But it just goes to show how competitive these games are. And the thing is, for some reason, these last couple of years, it seems like the road team has actually been the victors in this matchup. And the Texans come in; they've won the last 2 games in Lucas Oil. So we shall see if that continues Sunday.
It does. It's Sunday. It's football Sunday. The chili is going to be off the charts because I'm making the chili this time. My wife made the first batch. I'm going to make this batch, but it's not. But the Texans and the Colts isn't the only intriguing game this week. You have the one on Thursday night that kicks off the season, a rematch of the AFC Championship, the Kansas City Chiefs, the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, and the Baltimore Ravens. This time is at Arrowhead Stadium, and a lot of people are buying the Ravens, and I understand why with Lamar Jackson and now Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is going to get the bulk of the carries. I can also say don't believe the hype because it was the same kind of hype last year with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, and they had the home field advantage, and they laid a big fat egg against the Chiefs.
I will put it to you this way. The game plan that the Chiefs had back in late January in M&T Bank Stadium, I would employ the exact same, talking about defensively, the exact same strategy this Thursday. I would definitely do that because I want to see Lamar Jackson beat me in the pocket.
Yep. And you want to make him one. We've talked about it so many times before, gentlemen. You want to make Lamar Jackson one-dimensional instead of 2 or maybe even 3-dimensional. And the way the Chiefs chopped the Ravens and made Lamar Jackson try to beat him in the pocket, and he couldn't. The last 2 times these teams have played, Lamar Jackson couldn't beat the Chiefs in the pocket. I wouldn't be surprised, to your words, Cole, and to you, Shane, also, if he does it again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest way to shut Lamar down is turn him into a pocket passer because everybody knows Lamar Jackson knows how to beat you with his feet, but he also is an exceptional thrower on the run. You keep him inside the pocket, he's a duck.
Cole, you said something to me when we talked in January before the AFC Championship, and a lot of people were picking the Ravens, out of sentiment because they want to see Lamar Jackson get to a Super Bowl. Well, to get to the Super Bowl, they had to go through the Chiefs, and they laid an egg at M&T Bank Stadium. And the problem is just not the main problem is Lamar Jackson. You want to see Lamar Jackson beat you in the pocket. The other problem is they may have solved their running game with Derrick Henry, but the question is, how many miles does Derrick Henry have left?
That's one question, and that is probably the biggest of the questions with him. Another to me is, are you going to use him as the primary run source for your team, or are you going to do this in tandem with Lamar Jackson running as well? And the way this offense should run and the way Lamar Jackson needs the offense to run, Derrick Henry needs to take the rushing load off of Lamar Jackson. You should not have him be a 1,000-yard rusher. I'm not talking about Henry, I'm talking about Jackson. You should not need for him to be a 1,000-yard rusher. But the way they construct this offense, it's a necessity for him to be that. But you need that weight to be taken off of him because there's enough weight to involve the other skill position players to maximize their potential on the offense. And those 2 questions are the biggest of keys. How much does Henry have in the tank? Because the last 2 years, last 2 to 3 years, he's dealt with injury. So, and last year was to the point where he didn't deal so much with injury as much as he dealt with a pitch count or a carries count.
Yep.
So So that is a concern. But if I'm the Ravens, I would attack the Chiefs in a real simple, basic football game plan. I would start early, pounding the Chiefs, pounding them, pounding them, pounding them. Because the funny thing is, the Chiefs were not all that great stopping the run. However, and this is what makes me laugh in this stretch. In succession, the Dolphins, the Bills, the Ravens, and to a degree, the 49ers seem to be in key moments allergic to running the ball against them. And I'm like, this is your key. This is your key to beat the Chiefs because defensively they can't really stop you in the run.
Right.
Yes, they do have an all-world defensive tackle in Chris Jones. To me, he's the best player on the Chiefs, without question.
But he was only one man. And by the time the 49ers figured it out in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs have already raced back from their deficit and caught them.
Right.
And spooked the 49ers. And look, people tell me you're afraid to talk about your own team. Talk to my radio partners. If I'm critical about anybody more than any other team, it's the teams that I cover.
And the other big thing that the Chiefs need to realize is their middle is wide open for pass plays. You get inside the 10-yard mark with the middle of the Chiefs' interior, it's a lock. So they need to be able to close that down as well.
That's how Purdy found Jawan Jennings in the Super Bowl. And that's how the Niners were able to execute that trick play with Jawan Jennings finding Christian McCaffrey. About the Chiefs, they're back together. They're whole. They're the world champions. Starting with the Ravens, which team do y'all think is more spooked about this game on Thursday night? Is it the Chiefs or is it the Ravens? I'm inclined to think it's the Ravens.
Chiefs. Super Bowl hangover possibility.
Good point.
Biggest thing is they know what they did to get to the Super Bowl because that's what they had to go through the Ravens. But it's different playing in January in a cold weather stadium than playing the season opener. So there may be a little bit of a hangover factor for the Super Bowl champs.
True.
But if they can get Lamar shut down early, it'll be fine.
Cole, your thoughts?
I get what you're saying, Shane. Spooked though? No. I'll go Ravens with the spooked. But I would see I definitely can see the malaise or the letdown or we got this. It's September. We don't have to flip the switch until Christmas. The Chiefs, because that's how they entered last year. They did not really have that sense of urgency, but they still won their first few games before teams caught up with them, and the Chiefs had to change their style midstream.
Yeah.
But to me, and I think Shane hit the point on the head. If they could force the Ravens to have Lamar Jackson think, just have him think, then
there.
I think that will be an issue. That'll be an issue for them, and I think for the Chiefs they'll be fine.
Right there. Force him to think. Force him to think and not act and not use his legs to get outside the pocket to beat you. There is your key to beating the Baltimore Ravens. Here's another game that I'm looking at, and it's in Brazil. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. And Cole, I'll come to you first with your thoughts on this game and it being played in Brazil.
You got a lot of what ifs on both sides, and I think that's the problem. Because the hype, of course, is you got these young quarterbacks. For, of course, the Packers, you got Jordan Love. For the Eagles, you have Jalen Hurts, and of course, Jalen Hurts has the advantage over Love, be it that he has seen a Super Bowl and an NFC Championship.
Right.
And Love has not even been to the NFC Championship game yet. But all the quarterback stuff aside, so they both addressed that they probably needed a bigger, more impactful emphasis on the run. So you got Josh Jacobs for the Packers in the pickup,
right?
And you have Saquon Barkley over to pick up with the Eagles. So you have that. The Eagles, of course, they have, of course, Smith and Brown for wide receivers, and for the Packers, you got a bevy of like plenty of them like under the age of 26.
Right.
I lost count last year. I'm like, doggone, how many young wide receivers you got on that team? But to me, it is about the trenches. For the Eagles offensive line, I want to see how well they adjust without Jason Kelce. How well are they going to adjust? Because Jason Kelce, because to me, he was the glue. In a lot of ways, he was glued to the team. No matter what side of the ball you're talking about.
Right.
So he's gone, and then of course you add the pressure of Fletcher Cox also being gone on the defensive side. And to me, I think that's the issue that I have, and that's the what if for me for the Eagles. The what if for me for the Packers. I am not a big fan of the defensive line. I want to be. I really want to be, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And it's like there isn't anything that makes. Yeah, there's anything on the defensive line that they have thus far that has given me a reason to say, man, I really like this team. Although I keep hearing from a lot of people that's their Super Bowl pick. And I'm like, with what?
You know something that I know a lot of Packer fans, and I had a couple of them on the show. They believe they believe their own hype. But I haven't
I'm not
seen
saying they're a bad
anything.
team. Yeah.
I'm not. No, they're not a bad team. They are indeed a playoff contender. Okay, I'll give you that. They are definitely a division championship contender and a playoff contender first and foremost. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah,
but a Super Bowl pick when
they're not there yet.
When you have a certain team in Santa Clara looking to defend their NFC championship and take that final step again, no.
I mean, it's not just a team out in Santa Clara. It's the fact that, we're looking at an early divisional matchup in its own right because we know Philadelphia is coming out of the East.
Yep.
So this is already a playoff matchup as it is. So it's going to be a test for Green Bay, Friday night.
So what do you mentioned, Cole, the Eagles not having their glue in Jason Kelce, who of course retired. How is that offensive line going to click? And I'm talking to a couple of offensive linemen here and being a former one myself. How is that offensive line going to click without the veteran making the calls and making the last minute adjustments? How do they click, man?
This is the time when, and this is when Jalen Hurts, besides the legs, besides the arm, besides what he could do at quarterback, this is the time where he has to assert his leadership, and he has to get the 5 that's going to be in charge of blocking him and protecting him, or the 6 or the 7, however the rotation is. And they have to say, and he would have to say to them, all right, you guys are the lifeblood of this team. You got to communicate with one another. That is a must. There's no exceptions. We got to get this running game going. You got to protect me. And if that does not happen, we won't be going to where we were supposed to go like we did 2 years ago, because we still have unfinished business. So you all had to communicate with each other. You all have to be the glue of this team. And the only way that you can replace a Hall of Fame center in Jason Kelce is that the 5 of you have to be the next man up, not just the center that's going to replace him.
Exactly.
All right, we're going to play a little game with some of the teams that the fans are picking to go to the Super Bowl. And yes, I've seen the Chicago Bears on that list. Let's have some fun here. And let's play a little game called Buy or Sell. I'll name the team and you tell me if you're buying them or selling them. Let's get started. The first team I will name is the Philadelphia Eagles, and I go to Shane first.
I'm buying them because of the fact of what they're able to do in the postseason. They're going to have a solid regular season as it is, and then they're going to end up being able to counter. They're going to come back. They're going to go through the divisional round again, more than likely either with Green Bay or the wild card, and then they're going to be able to start stacking up a little bit better. I could buy them going into the Super Bowl.
All right, Cole, I come to you. Are you buying or selling the Philadelphia Eagles?
I'll buy them too, and the reason why I buy them, like I said, I think there's many on the Eagles that feel as though they have unfinished business, and I really believe they believe last year was an anomaly or a fluke. That they believe that the 10-1 team that they were was a little more indicative of them than the slide that they had after. But there was a lot of smoke and mirrors with how they got that 10-1 last year.
Exactly.
But they believe they are that 2022 squad, and I think they want to get back to that, and I think they will prove that they will be. That's all.
All right. The next team on the list, this one, the Green Bay Packers. You buying them or selling them? And I, too, am buying the Philadelphia Eagles because that second half slide popped up out of nowhere. And I don't think it'll happen again. So we're all in agreement that we're buying the Philadelphia Eagles. How about the Green Bay Packers? Are you buying them or selling them?
I'm buying them somewhat.
Okay.
And I mean, Jordan Love is the real deal. I mean,
yes.
For him to execute 21-26 for 272 yards against a defense in the Cowboys that people raved about, and just acted as if his first ever playoff game was like a regular season game in September. That says a lot to me. And he followed it up with a pretty good performance in Santa Clara. It was an L, but still, it was a pretty good performance for him. And I think the team will be powered by him, and they can go a long way with him. I think the Packers goes as far as Jordan Love does.
I'm buying them to a point, but because Jordan Love is the man. All right. Jordan Love has proven me wrong. Their receiving core is dynamite, but from my eyes, the receiving core is also inconsistent.
Good word.
And
good word.
Jordan Love has yet to figure out how to really not get them involved, but keep them involved. You got to keep your receiving core involved. Look at the second half of the divisional round against San Francisco when the 49ers got their act together midway through the third quarter. What did they do? They stuck to the receivers like glue. It was the tight end that scored the touchdown.
Right.
Their final touchdown of the game. Their receivers were blanketed by the 49ers secondary. So you got to engage your receivers and keep them involved. All right. How about these guys, the Detroit Lions? Buying them or selling them?
I'm definitely buying them. To me, I laugh when I'm hearing a lot of people say that the Packers are they paid to go to the Super Bowl. I'm like, so you're bypassing the 49ers, you're bypassing the Lions. And I didn't see any of the other 14 teams in the NFC that improved themselves to the point where I could think they could usurp the Lions or the 49ers. The closest one to me would be the Eagles, and even then, I get pause. The Lions, I buy. The only issue I have with them, I want Dan Campbell to dial down the gambles.
Yes,
I think when he rolls the dice, he rolls the dice far too much, and he puts his teams in positions they shouldn't belong in.
Right.
And that's the only issue I have with them. Defensively, they seem to have come up. Offensively, they seem to become more balanced. They seem to be embracing balance. And I mean, there's a lot that I love about the Lions. There's a lot I love about them.
Yes, I too am buying the Detroit Lions. Saw them up close and personal in the NFC Championship, and you and I have this agreement on the same issue with Dan Campbell. Dial down the gambles, because of course the two he made in the NFC Championship in essence cost him 10 points and cost him the game.
That cost him the game. Yeah.
That indeed cost them the game. But I'm definitely buying the Detroit Lions. I have them winning and you're going to love how I'm going to say this, the NFC Central Division. I have, and in the immortal words of Chris Berman, I have the doggone it live folks. Okay, there we go. I have them winning the NFC Central Division, or as Chris Berman says, the NFC Norris Division.
Yeah, Norris.
You haven't heard that in a while, have you?
No.
The NFC Norris Division.
Yeah.
The NFC Norris Division. All right, let's continue the NFC version of Don't Believe the Hype. Allison Moran coming in just a little bit. You know where I'm going next. I don't even have to say them. And I will begin this one.
Right.
That's a sell. I am selling the daylights out of the Dallas Cowboys because as a whole, I do not believe in them. Mike McCarthy is running the offense as well as the team, and I don't think they have enough pieces to even reach the playoffs this year. That's a hard sell for me.
Now, to me, with the Cowboys, it depends on where. Playoffs, I'll buy. Getting the playoffs, I'll buy. Maybe even getting the wild card run, I'll buy. Anything beyond that is a straight up. I'm straight up like which one of those two? Which one of those brothers? I think it was Randolph. I think it was Randolph. Dude, sell. Oh
that was Randolph.
Sell. The Cowboys piss me off.
Yes,
I'm not talking about Cowboys fans and their ridiculousness.
The
Cowboys, the team pisses me off because they got. And I've said this: they have the most talent in the NFC East. They have the most talent in that division.
Yep.
But somehow they just find a way to muck it all up. But I don't understand how it is. I mean, you have a defense that, to me, you have an all-world player in Micah Parsons.
Yes.
And you have wonderful corners. Of course, you had Stephon Diggs' brother Trayvon, who got injured last year, and he's going to come back. And then you had Deron Bland, who showed up on the other side, catching everything and getting picks. So I mean, you have a lot of talent on this team, and that's just on the defensive side. And I didn't even mention Van Der Esch. I didn't even mention DeMarcus Lawrence. And then on the offensive side, you have Dak Prescott. Yes, he's okay. I mean, I'm not saying that he's horrible. Right. I'm not saying he's bad, but in a vacuum, he's okay. I still believe they play him wrong because he is best with play action.
Yes.
And if you do not play action with Dak Prescott, you have him drop back and throw back.
Do you hear this? As you said on Total Football Talk, which is a dynamite show that y'all need to check out with my football brothers, Drew Willingham and Cole Johnson. Did you hear that, Dak Prescott? I love when you said that. I know you're buying this next team because I certainly am, and so is Dr. K. The defending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying. I do love how it looks like they are attempting, and I'm talking about the brass. You know, John Lynch in particular, the GM.
Yeah,
they are trying to sell the players on the idea that it is one for all and one for all. That their record that they and I'm saying this from the negotiation table. I mean, it started with Nick Bosa, then it continued with Deebo Samuel, and then we got a chance to see it with Brian Ayuk. They guaranteed have not been in the boardroom. I guarantee you, I bet you John said this to them. He said, look, we know that you are one of the biggest pieces of this team. You're one of the biggest reasons why we have gotten no worse than an NFC championship appearance in the last few years, if not the Super Bowl. So we know that you're great. We hear that you're great because other outlets outside of Santa Clara are telling us this.
Yes.
So we know that you're great, but we want to keep this core for a long time. And with that, we got to make sure that we save a little here, save a little there. And then we also have an eye out for Brock Purdy. You like Brock Purdy, right? So we want to keep him for a long time. So yes, we recognize that this is the number you want, but this is the number we'll give you. It's a little bit more than what we can actually spare, but that little more is the understanding of we know that you are talented, and we know that you are one of the biggest pieces, not just on the team, but in the league.
And what the 49ers did, and you and I have talked about this before, they think long term.
Mhm.
Okay. They're not thinking short term. They're thinking long term. And fans have said they only have one trip to the Super Bowl remaining. I say they have several trips. As long as this core stays together, they're going to frighten the daylights out of the NFC.
They have several trips, provided that the core stay together. Well, two reasons. Core stays together, and they don't have a whole ton of injury problems.
Yeah, because injuries have killed the 49ers.
Mhm.
Oh, by the way, NFC, Christian McCaffrey will be in the lineup on Monday night.
Oh, he's
Now
just
I'm going to do this to give
touchdown.
Allison I'm going to do this to give Allison a laugh before she comes on and we talk women's sports. But I had to throw this team in there, and that's these guys, the Chicago Bears. I had to, for a pure, unadulterated laugh, because I know how she feels, and I am selling the Chicago Bears. I just don't believe in Caleb Williams. I ain't believing the hype. I'm not.
I'm selling them, but not because of Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I'm wowed by what I saw in the preseason, but I will say this: he looked a lot better in his first preseason than Justin Fields did in his. So he does have that in his favor,
Right.
and obviously, he has the team in his favor because he received the C on his jersey, so he's one of their captains.
Yeah.
But I'm not selling because of him.
Right.
And I'm not particularly selling because they do have some talent. And I'm not talking about DJ Moore. I'm talking about the guy on the other side. Keenan Allen.
No. I think we can stop right there, okay?
but I'm selling because their defense is, to me, not all that great. And I know who I know you.
A sieve, man.
Yeah, I know, and I know you.
This is an absolute sieve.
It is a sieve, and I know you know the name.
Yep.
And I know where it comes from, but I do not trust Matty Eberflus, and
No.
I would not blame you if you say who is he. I don't trust him at all.
What do I call him on the show? I don't call him by his correct last name, Eberflus. I call him Eberfools because he is a fool with the way he has constructed this team. I mean, God bless you, Caleb Williams, but I will say this again and again and again and again. You can have all the talent in the world, but as 1985 through 1989 proved, you can't do a doggone thing without what, class? An offensive line.
And speaking of which, thank you, Vic. Yes. Caleb Williams, and I think the reason why you want to sell him, and not in the I can't stand the guy, but in the I don't think he can actually put the numbers up that people think he can, like he did at USC, is because it's still quite possible he's playing behind 300-pound turnstiles.
Correct. And that's the thing that scares me the most. That is the NFC version, ladies and gentlemen, of buy or sell. Which team are you buying? Which team are you selling? Let us know in the comments below. My brother, Cole Johnson, an absolute thrill and a pleasure and a delight to have you back here in studio with us. And I hope this becomes a weekly thing where you come in and talk football, especially on our Mega Football Friday shows, because we got picks all over the place. We got games to look at. I hope this becomes a weekly visit. Thank you, sir. I love you, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Love you too, brother. And great to be back.
Great to have you back. Thank you, Cole.
Thank you, man.
We roll on this Tuesday edition of Snowman in the Morning, presented by BetUS.com. BetUS.com, where the game begins. And speaking of begins, I have this pretty lady. The token female herself, Allison Moran, joins the fray. How are you, my dear?
I am doing very well, Brian. How are you, my favorite snowman in the entire world?
I'm doing great. I'm doing absolutely great. And let's just dive right into it. Let me say hello to AB Media, who's located in Indianapolis, to Victor Locke joining us in the chat, Ryan McCoffey, and everybody that is joining us in the chat. Let's just dive right in. How dangerous right now are the Indiana Fever?
Oh my God. I mean, let's look at their record. Come on. You have got, they are in their last 10 games, they're 8-2. First of all, they have been humiliating the likes of the Chicago Sky. For an example, they have been humiliating and just recently 100-83 over the Dallas Wings on Sunday. Caitlin Clark is on her way to 700 points this season. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. They're number 6 and climbing. Number 6 with a bullet on the playoff list. They're probably, I'm going to predict they're going to land at a number 4 seed eventually if they keep going the way they are. Yeah. Their team has been gelling. Notice also, there have not been any calls for the coach's dismissal over the last month, not since beyond the Olympic break. There's nothing. That is, and who can we attribute most of this to? We can attribute this to one, Caitlin Clark, who is the Rookie of the Year. Yeah.
Number 22, baby.
22. Right.
And I feel this Rookie of the Year award for Caitlin Clark should not only be a landslide, I believe it should be unanimous.
It absolutely should be. There's no, I mean, look at the only person who is anywhere near getting that award, Rookie of the Year, would be Angel Reese. And I'm sorry, it's in they would judge that the voting on that is judged on how Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have done in matchups, and with what Indiana Fever 4-1 in that category. I'm sorry. I love Angel Reese. I love her to death. I love Caitlin Clark. But in head-to-head matchups, the Sky have been annihilated. And in the most humiliating fashion possible. So consequently, Caitlin Clark, Rookie of the Year, book it. So it's do we want to talk about Cheryl Swoops at all today?
And
do we want
everything? I listen. The last couple of hours while I was driving to get breakfast and planning the show out, I just listened to a couple of podcasts because I am a podcast geek as well as a podcast host, and I take in a lot of information. Cheryl Swoops needs to have a couple of seats and just shut up.
Oh my God. Take a break. Take a break. Okay. Let's give a little background on how this all started. Back in February, during the run-up to the NCAAs, when Caitlin Clark was still at Iowa. Okay, Clark had broken Cheryl Swoops' 30-year NCAA tournament record. Her scoring record on her way to breaking Pete Maravich's scoring record.
Right.
Okay. There was no, as far as I know, any sour grapes or anything like that. But at that time, Swoops had made mention of the fact that there's one more game in the NCAA season, and then there were when Cheryl came out of college to go into the WNBA almost 30 years ago.
Right.
Okay, and so there was a little blowback from that. Okay, now she was talking on the Gil Arena's YouTube show, and Cheryl inconsistently stated that Clark was in her 5th season at Iowa, that she was 25 years old, not 22 that she is now, and that she was taking 40 shots per game, all of which not true.
Not true.
Yes.
She barely took 20 shots a game, and she broke the record. Cheryl Swoops said, quote, Kelsey Plum set the record in 4 years. I believe it should be broken in 4 years. Well, guess what, Cheryl? You got your wish. She did break it in 4 years. Matter of fact, she did it in less games. And if you think about it, even given all the hype, she did it in 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So basically, it's compounded. She did. Now, Cheryl did apologize apparently to Caitlin Clark for misstating her record, her age, and the number of shots she took per game. However, she has been particularly critical of Caitlin Clark all year, praising Angel Reese to the skies, praising her flagrant foul back in June, basically, and also calling out other people on the squad, instead of Caitlin Clark.
Right.
She had only praised Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hall because, quote, she's got a personal relationship with them. And so now Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever played the Dallas Wings, where Swoops is a commentator on Sunday. She was nowhere to be found on this broadcast.
Because
she said
they pulled her.
ESPN,
for her comments, ESPN did the right thing and said, "Oh no, you don't, yank."
Yeah, you can't be objective about this. You got to give credit to Clark. And, what did she have? Like 23 points or 30 points? I forget. 28 points. Yeah.
She had 28 points and 12 assists. Kelsey Mitchell caught fire, finished with 36. And for the second straight game, Indiana scored 100 points.
And how? I mean, and so who do they put in instead of Cheryl Swoops for that game, but Nancy Lieberman. Another legend, a legend
and a Hall of Famer.
Exactly. Yes. And one of the nicest people I've ever met. And she called Cheryl Swoops and said, as a friend, and said, you gotta make peace with your stats. You can't. There's no such thing as you can have your own opinion. You can have your, but you cannot disregard the facts. and the facts of these were these mistakes. And she's like, I don't, and Cheryl Swoops was like, we don't care about your opinion, Nancy. You know, we're no longer friends. You know, this is it. You know, that's paraphrase. And so friendships have been lost over this. And why? Why?
I
Now,
don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Go on.
And the thing is, Cheryl has had kind of a history of being a you know what, and kind of a cruel sort. I remember when she was at Loyola University Chicago, when she was coach for I think just one season, and she was 10 out of her players actually put in for a transfer because of Cheryl's bullying. Yeah, it was
bullying tactic.
yeah, there's a way to manage people, and Cheryl didn't have it. Cheryl didn't have a lot of managing experience, but it seems like there is a real like a pattern of shooting herself in the foot. What does she expect is going to happen? She was eventually fired from Loyola University Chicago, and then she started in on her podcast. She started in on doing broadcasting, and she's going to lose this career too.
Yes, she is.
If she continues to be undiplomatic and unable to keep her facts straight. There's one thing, the only currency you have in the broadcasting world are number one, your facts. Number two, your ability to be objective with the facts, and being able to how does one say, being able to promote those who are really selling the game, you know, and Caitlin Clark is one of those who sells the game.
She
And
not only sells the game, she sells a whole lot more.
yeah,
Caitlin Clark and the Fever are the only. I want to make sure this is right. This was told to me, and I made sure I had my facts. What a lot of people don't do on their sports shows. All right, and you know it. I know it. You've hung around with me for 14 years. I mean, you know this.
Yeah.
You know I am a research madman.
Yes, you are.
You have hung with me when we covered Chicago Sky games, and you needed a quick stat, and I'm hopping on my computer and looking it up as fast as I can. All right. I want to say that the Indiana Fever are the only team in the WNBA this year to sell out every game, home and road, to the point where the Atlanta Dreams games against Indiana were moved from the place that they usually play to State Farm Arena, which seats, I don't know, 17,000 perhaps.
Right. You know, here's what I had a disappointment on Friday with Chicago Sky, Indiana Fever. I was hoping that they would move it to the United Center, and they didn't.
We were looking for that because we talked about that in June when they played 3 times, and we were saying, don't be surprised if they moved it to the United Center. They didn't move it to the United Center. You can't tell me, and I will keep harping on this as long as those two play in the WNBA. You cannot tell me that you can't clear a date and have 24,000 people in the United Center. Okay?
Yeah.
You could have you could have at least $3.5 million in one afternoon. Hell, you can double that if it's an evening tip.
You know, I thought for sure that they could have. I mean, when you looked at how many people were at Wintrust Arena on Friday nights, I mean, they were to the rafters, Brian.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, you could have easily gotten so many more into the UC than at any other time, and I just think that's wrong. That they didn't try and move it. I
Mhm.
don't know why they wouldn't. They wouldn't have, but
Exactly.
yeah, but that's just how it, that's the way the ball bounces. They
Yeah.
missed real opportunity to make money for the league, for the Chicago Sky, and for the and for the individual players. I mean, my God,
And
imagine
and for
what
the
could
city
have.
of Chicago and for the
And
city of Chicago.
absolutely, absolutely.
They could have
Yeah.
played all let's be totally honest. With the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky being the star rivalry in the WNBA this year,
Mhm.
although no one else will say it the way we'll say it, you could have easily played every game. You could have easily played those two games in the United Center. The two
Yes,
that were scheduled for Chicago, you could have easily played those two in the United Center without blinking. Okay?
ex- exactly. And I don't think that there was anything major going on
Mm-mm.
uh, there, and I maybe the rent was too high for them. I don't know. I'm not sure, but
I don't
I
know
think
either.
I don't have a clue.
Mhm.
It was a much smaller stage than it could have been. I mean, look at they sold out the Garden in
Yes.
Boston. Come
They sold out
on,
they sold
it
out TD Garden. Wasn't
and
that fabulous? That the
yeah,
WNBA sold out TD Garden, which houses the NBA world champion Boston Celtics. God, I've said that
yeah.
a few times in my life.
Actually, the WNBA just came out with some statistics for the first half of the season. First
Mhm.
of all, more than half of all the WNBA games this year have been sellouts. Second, about 400,000 fans have attended WNBA games this year.
Mhm.
Televised games have tripled, 1.32 million viewers last year, 462,000. We
Yes.
call we call this Caitlin Clark effect. And also, WNBA Countdown, that's their lead-in show,
Mhm.
is averaging over 741,000 viewers this year. And merchandise, the
Off the
currency.
charts.
It
Off
is
the charts.
756% this year.
Mhm.
756% up this year on merchandise. Do I think that it's because of Caitlin Clark? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It, and there's no freaking way. I mean, every we have worked a long time to get to this point in the WNBA, all of us. This is a point at which the let's say it's at a fever pitch. Can we say
It is. We
that?
talked about how dangerous the Fever are at this time. They're sitting one game above 500. When you look at their record at 17 and 16, the outsider will say, "Oh, they're barely surviving." You should have seen the Fever at the start of the season when they were 1-8. Let me repeat that. They were 1-8. And since that time, they've gone 16-8 since then. And after the Olympic break is when you really started to see the Indiana Fever get their act together, because they now have wins over the top four teams that's in the playoffs. They had one of
Mhm,
those on the road, and they did that in New York. They
mhm.
also went to Phoenix and beat them. They have
Yeah,
a win over the top four teams in the WNBA. Conversely, your Chicago Sky is on a skid and might be skidding right out of the playoffs if they don't get their act together.
Yes, they're going to the WNBA's Las Vegas Aces with Becky Hammon as coach, and Asia Wilson. I want her. I want her.
Angel
I want her.
Wilson,
By the way, why is it though that whenever they're doing badly, they're my team, not our team? Excuse me, Brian.
Well, they are our team. I covered them for 4 years. You hung with me for 4 years. I jokingly say your team because hell, I cover them from afar here, with the stories I post on my website and everything. And listen, they need to get their act together. It starts and ends with Angel Reese. And what I saw on Friday against Indiana frightened me. Because to a point, and no one else will say this, it looked like Angel Reese flat out quit in that game. Look at the end of the third quarter and all through the fourth and all through the money period when Indiana got on a roll and ran away. It looked like Angel Reese and the Sky quit.
They did not admit that in post game. They did not. But it was clearly discouraging to watch that lack of energy, the lack of enthusiasm, Kennedy Carter, who I give credit for as being a great impact player, is just, she's sick. She's not herself. And she's been questionable and out of certain games through most of the year, since the Olympic break. My apologies. But the thing is that right now, in the skid they're on right now, 2-8 out of their last 10 and 11-21 on the season. I mean, that is a pathetic record. And the fact is that you cannot. I mean, right now, as you mentioned with Angel Reese, while she's averaging a double-double per game with 13.5 points, 12.5 rebounds per game, she's only shooting about 38% average. And 20% from the 3-point range. And what's more, she's got over 400 rebounds. The
400 rebounds are a great accomplishment by a rookie. Don't get it twisted. They're a great accomplishment by a rookie. But in looking at this team and looking at our team, they have fallen apart. And they started to fall apart before the Olympic break.
They're not buying. Kennedy Carter, I think, said it best in a post game. She said, "We're not buying into the defense.
Right.
That's the problem. Why? Why the hell are you not buying into a defense? Are we not all committed on the floor?" It just infuriated me more than anything is to hear her say, "How could you not buy into a defense? Do you want Spoon to change it? Do you want to run it yourself? Why? It doesn't make sense to me. If you all have the same goal of winning games in mind, I mean, to my mind, do what Spoon tells you to do. In my mind, it's not enough to be a rebound queen and catching your own rebounds as Angel Reese does. It's not enough. You have to really commit to taking a fall from the team. You have to commit to getting an elbow in your face every now and again.
Absolutely.
let's commit to that.
Mhm.
And otherwise, you are looking at being a lottery team. You're going to be, and fine. If that's the way you want to be, play out the string. I think that the Sky management, in all likelihood, made that decision when they traded away Marina Mabry.
They
There's
did. Yep.
leaving Coach Teresa Weatherspoon with, what, 2, 3 players sometimes to work with, really. And I mean, you can never get anything with expectations. There's just no way that this is going to work. I'm sorry.
None.
It's that's just who they're going to be.
And it's
And
bad. And it's bad
Yeah.
that in 3 years' time, they've gone from WNBA world champions to this.
yeah,
In 3 years' time. That's a short amount. In professional sports, that's a very short amount of time. 3 years.
yeah, it is. It's just a bit humiliating.
Mhm.
But it was also done by plan with all the best intentions in the world, I have to
Yep.
believe.
Mhm.
That they are simply not that team anymore. And you have to give credit to Diamond DeShields for coming back from a brain tumor. I mean, this is something it's great for her, but they are not doing what they should be doing.
Right.
And they will not make the playoffs this year. That's my
No.
prediction,
No.
because it's just not going to happen. They will fall further off. Angel Reese will be a good second in voting for the Rookie of the Year. I do
Mhm.
believe that. I think they'll all get great endorsements, but I think that as far as actually being a team to watch, a team to look at, a team that you can be proud of, that's not Chicago Sky's destiny this year.
Mhm.
There, and that for me is very sad.
Yeah.
Initially, there were no big expectations until they got Angel Reese in the draft,
Mhm.
and they started doing well. But how the hell did they win 11 games? Well, look at their record. They cannot. They have not won against a top 4 team in that I can.
They haven't
Yeah.
won against the top 4 all season.
Yeah, and they haven't won a game now since August 17th against the Sparks.
Right.
Another kind of pathetic stat too.
Mhm.
As much as I like their players, they're not. They're not going anywhere either. So
Right.
it's a major disappointment to me as a Chicago Sky fan, follower, and reporter that they have fallen to this.
Mhm.
And all I can say is get that number 1 pick in the lottery for
Right.
2025. If that's
Mhm.
where you're going to go, commit to it.
Yeah.
It's like anything in life. You have to commit to where you want to go in order to get there.
And
I
that
don't.
number one pick is Paige Beckers out of Connecticut.
Yeah. Yes.
Guarantee it. That number 1
Yeah.
pick is Paige Beckers. So if you're going to go after a replacement point guard, which Marina Mabry was, and now Mabry is on a playoff team, and I believe they're going to extend her for a long time. If you're going to go after Paige Beckers, then make sure you let the players know, look, we're going to concentrate on next year. We're going to play hard every single game here on out, even harder left. But
Yeah.
if the playoffs are not our destiny, we're going after Paige Beckers. But you
Yeah.
better block Indiana from getting Paige Beckers, because There have been some fans and some pundits that are getting in my ears saying there's a possibility that Indiana also could snatch Paige Beckers, which would make them even more dangerous than they are now. I don't think it'll happen, but
This is not a lottery team.
no.
Indiana is not a lottery team. They have what's working for them now. They've got a team that really is firing on all four cylinders.
Mhm.
And you've got the great leadership of Caitlin Clark. You've got all the cylinders firing at the right time.
Right.
They will not be that. So they will not be in the lottery this year.
Right.
The Chicago Sky will be.
Mhm.
And Cheryl Swoops will be without a job. Swoops, excuse me, will
Yep.
not be with she will not, her option will not be picked up by the Dallas Wings again.
Mm-mm.
It's caused too much controversy. She's got to get over this attitude that she has over Caitlin Clark.
Mhm.
And because that is not objective.
It's not
It is.
at all.
No, and your currency within the within your market is to be an objective observer.
Mhm.
And I mean, you can praise them in equal parts. You can praise the players in equal parts, but you better make sure it's distributed.
Mhm.
And that's how I was taught.
That's how I was taught too, especially doing broadcasting. We're coming up on a break, and I got Chris Dietz coming at the bottom of the hour to talk some football with us. But that's how I was taught also. And I had a fan just text me a moment ago, listening to the show from our hometown in Chicago, and he posed a question to me that I have answered on air, but not in full. He said, "Who was the one voice that made you believe you could be a broadcaster?" So that's simple. Jim Durham.
That's right. For
I
me,
mean, I
yeah.
love you, Dick. I love you, Dick Stockton and Brent Musburger. Those are the first national television voices that I heard, along with Dick Enberg. But the guy that did it for me way back in 1985 was Jim Durham. I heard his voice call a game against the Milwaukee Bucks, game 3 in that playoff series. And I heard the way he describes the game and talks about the players. And then when they teamed him up with Johnny Red Kerr, I said, forget all the other announcing duos. Give me my Jim Durham and Johnny Kerr to get me started. And
Absolutely.
it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful partnership. So, and Dan Patrick asked me this on his show. So the guy that gets me, the guy that got me, that put the bug in me, and I simply said, if Jim Durham can do it, I could do it. So Jim Durham's my man. The late great Jim Durham is my man.
Absolutely. I love Jim Durham too. Can I mention mine? Did he ask about mine
Go
as
ahead.
well?
Go
Mine,
ahead.
yeah. Number one was Leslie Visser.
Oh yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Leslie Visser, Hannah Storm,
Mhm.
and also somebody who was very dear to Chicago, the late great Jeannie Morris.
Jeannie Morris, yes.
And Jeannie Morris, who wrote Brian Piccolo, A Short Season.
Mhm.
They three told me that there was some kind of an opening in women's sports,
Yes.
and women covering sports, I should say.
Yep.
And the important thing for me was to conduct myself with some kind of class, conduct myself as someone who was polite yet firm, because they were always polite yet firm.
Mhm.
It doesn't always look that way, I'll admit, in my world, but for all of for everything, especially at the time when those three covered. Jeannie was lucky to be married to first an NFL player, and Johnny Morris, who played for the Chicago Bears. Leslie Visser had her own road to hoe. So did Hannah Storm, and they had to conduct some of their interviews outside the locker room because women weren't allowed
Out in
in
the
locker
lottery.
rooms at that time. Cheryl Ray Stout, a very dear friend and a wonderful human being, told me and told this story that it was Jim Harbaugh that actually got her into the locker room, because even back then, when Jim was the quarterback for the Chicago Bears in the post Jim McMahon era,
Right.
you didn't, there were no women allowed. Now I got there a couple years later, and so Jim was already ensconced, but it wasn't until he said, hey, how come Cheryl has to wait for her turn to ask me questions when I'm coming out of the locker room? He asked this of the McCaskey family.
Yeah.
And indeed, they're like, well, I don't know why it's
Of course.
and she was let in, as were every other woman, and so the fight continues. The fight will continue, and I owe a debt of gratitude to all those women for my being able to be on air and to be able to conduct myself with some measure of dignity, because they paved the way for me, and I could not be more grateful to all those who did that.
Well, I made my dear friend Allison Moran a promise, and I am going to keep that promise before the season is out, and we're going to call a game together on the air, and it'll feature either the Indiana Fever or the Chicago Sky, or maybe we'll do one. Maybe we'll do one of each. But we're going to do a game together. I made that promise. I said I'd work on the technology, and I am working on it. I want to be one of the ones, along with my buddy Play by Play with JJ out east, that brings the true simulcast back. Because
Yes.
I miss the simulcast era. Being born and raised in Chicago, got used to Sports Vision, which later became Sports Channel, which later became
Right.
Fox Sports Chicago, which is now NBC Sports Chicago. But
Yeah.
Sports Vision just hit it for me.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I was a subscriber to Sports Vision. I love them, and that would be nice to bring a little of that back and I mourned its demise.
Yeah, same here.
When
Same
it did
here. When I
happen.
saw the signs on the buses that with Jordan and Frank Thomas and other players packing their bags and they're making the switch to Fox Sports, I was so sad to see Sports Vision go. I was
Yeah.
so sad. I was so sad to see them go. We're coming up on getting a word in my ear from Jody. We need to go to a break, but Allison, my dear, it is always a pleasure when you join us here on the show. I'm glad we locked this segment in for every Tuesday. I love having you. I love you, my dear, and we'll see. And I make sure we will see you next Tuesday.
Sounds awesome, Brian. Have a great week. Stay healthy. Stay positive. Love you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. I love your sister is what I should have said. I was just so excited and just in such a rush. I got Jody laughing in my ear saying, go to break, go to break, go to break. All right, honey. I'm going to break. But before I go to break, I have a surprise for y'all. Snowman in the Morning is coming to Chicago. Yes, I will be live in the Windy City October 22nd and 23rd. I will pick a place. I will let y'all know what that place is, and you can see me live beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern on those 2 days in my hometown of Chicago, and I simply cannot wait, and I have my wife Jody to thank for that. Let's go to a break. When we come back, the legendary Chris Dietz will join us. Back in a minute.
Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony, or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central.
Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code Snowman, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to Snowman in the Morning on this Tuesday. And let me get to the Fanatic feedback zone because we had comments all over the place. And I haven't had a chance to get to it because I had Cole on here. Thank you, Cole. And of course, Allison Moran, who joins us every Tuesday. From the top, we begin with Ryan McCoffey saying, "Good morning, Snow Crew. I thought Shane switched alliances and was wearing a Blue Jays ball cap. No, that's not the case, man. He's Boston strong. Philly by them, but by default. Someone's got to represent the NFC East in the playoffs." Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, Ryan. Let me get a sip of water here. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Green Bay, he says, bye. They need to prove last year wasn't a fluke. Absolutely. And they can't do it just over the course of 9 games. They've got to be consistent all season long. They must be consistent all season long. And that's what I'm looking for. Victor Locke joins us, a.k.a. Victor Law. He says, "Ladies and gentlemen, the legends are back together. Kingpin Snowman," thank you kindly, sir, "and the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson, back on the thrones. You are too kind. You are most kind, Victor. I appreciate that." Back to McCoffey. He says, "Bye. They got a very good core for years and can represent the NFC in the Super Bowl." And McCarthy backs it up, also saying, and I agree with Cole, Dan Campbell needs to have more discernment on fourth down. Absolutely. He kicks those 2 field goals. It's a 3-possession game. If he takes that first one and kicks it, it's a 3-possession game, putting more pressure on the 49ers to get back in the ball game. Lions have the biggest chance to make a repeat trip to the NFC Championship. It may be a repeat performance for both the Lions and the 49ers in the NFC Championship. The only determination is going to be where. Ryan McCoffey, when I said Dallas, he said, sell, sell, sell. I agree. I ain't sell. Look, I just don't like the Cowboys. Okay? They have the most talent in the NFC East, as Cole said. He is true with that statement. However, it's everything else you got to worry about. Did you see Mike Zimmer destroy his chance of ever getting a head coaching job again? I don't know how he did that, but it's Mike Zimmer. Why would we be surprised? But the idiotic Republic of Cowboy Nation always say, we go to the Super Bowl, right? Jeez, dear God. You kidding me? Even if the Cowboys do well, they still will not have enough to get them deep into the playoffs. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Because they're going to depend on a retread Ezekiel Elliott and an 8-year veteran at quarterback who hasn't done anything. Period. They're going to depend on an 8-year quarterback that hasn't done a doggone thing and will not do a doggone thing. I said it. I know Victor's going to get mad at me and cuss me out, but I said it and I mean it. Ryan McCoffey says, sorry, moronic Republic. It's quite okay. We knew what you were talking about. To Victor Locke again, and they may end up tanking this season. That is on the table. It is on the table. Victor expressed it to me in a private conversation. I think Dallas is going to tank. They don't have enough to make a deep run in the playoffs. Right? But what do y'all think? Do y'all think the Dallas Cowboys will tank this year? Seriously, Larry, again, Zim might finish this season as interim head coach. Not anymore. No, I think they'll boot him. I think they'll moot him and boot him and get him out of there. McCoffey again. 49ers, fine. I'll buy. Barring catastrophic injury or mental lapses, they're another Super Bowl contender. And there is no lie to be found in that sentence. There's no lie to be found. Injuries have killed the 49ers 4 of the last 7 seasons. Injuries have killed San Francisco. They can't kill them again this year because the window is starting to close, but I think they have about 3 Super Bowl trips and maybe 2 of those turn into championships left. I still think they'll be the first to win 7. Darian Hopkins says, good morning, fellas. Good morning to you, Darian. Thanks for joining. McCoffey again. Also, Brandon Ayuk needs to prove he's not getting the bag based on 1 catch. And that, of course, was the helmet catch in the NFC Championship. And I think McCoffey, he'll prove that with another 1,000-yard season. Seriously, Larry, Ayuk and Trent Williams situations reveal some cracks in the Niners foundation. Yeah, they reveal some cracks, but those cracks are being solidified, especially with the team being back together. Ryan McCarthy says, buy, but keep the receipt handy. Do you say the same about your Jets? I didn't put the Jets up there. We didn't do the AFC version of buy or sell, but we will later this week. No NFL has several trips yet. Now how the league works. Tell that to the Kansas City Chiefs and tell that to the 49ers. That's all I have to say. Victor Locke, when we were talking Bears, says, don't forget the O-line. Oh, never forget the O-line. Never forget the O-line, ever. Can't forget that. AB Media joining us from Indianapolis says, good morning. Thank you. And he says, what up? And says, and we say good morning to you. Victor, one more time. Good morning, Allison. Allison Moran, very, very dear to me. Very, very dear to me. AB says Angel Reese needs to learn how to play basketball. Oops, did I type that out loud? Yep. And I'll speak it out loud. She does need to learn how to play basketball. It's easy to crash the boards and get 10, 11 rebounds a game. It's easy to do that. But where's the rest of your game? That's all I got to say. Where's the rest? Where's the rest of the game? Where's the rest of your game? Where is your 15-foot jump shot? Where is your post moves? Can she commit a post move to memory? That's all I got to say. Can she commit a post move to memory and use it? That's what I think. Now, I don't think that I don't think that she can yet. I hope she does. I really hope she does. The Hawk TV joins us from the nation's capital. He says 6 minutes left. Good morning. Good morning to you, my friend. Sick Diggy joins us from Norway. He says good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. His standard greeting to us. A Pizzle joins us from Florida. Says what's going on, Snow Crew? And he just informed me that he'll be in Indianapolis, Indiana for the Week 7 matchup between the Dolphins and the Indianapolis Colts, which means I may have a partner for the live broadcast. JJ is here. He says, that's crazy. JJ, as long as you're here, I want you to hear my next sentence, going back to something I said yesterday. The Philadelphia 76ers are not a playoff team. Matter of fact, let me do this right, because there's a way I can say this, but it requires this. Snowman's Take is brought to you by BetUS.com. BetUS.com, where the game begins. All right. People have asked, and I shall answer. People have asked me, do I think the Philadelphia 76ers can get to the Eastern Conference Finals? I know how to answer that question. And JJ's not going to like me for it. But I'll ask again and provide the answer. Can the Philadelphia 76ers get to the playoffs? Here's my answer.
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. To the no, no, no.
And I have several reasons why I believe the Sixers will not get to the playoffs. The first one, it starts and ends with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, you are soft as a pillow, especially when it comes to the playoffs. You have no heart, you have no soul. You got all the physical attributes. Don't get it twisted. You have all of the physical attributes to be the best on your team and actually be the leader on your team. Trouble is, you haven't done it yet. If you'd done it, you'd be swimming in titles right now. And I mean every single word of that. You'd have at least 2 titles if you had taken it upon yourself to say, look, I'll put this team on my back. Because you had the talent. Notice I said had. But now y'all sign Paul George? What? Nope. I got no belief in the Philadelphia 76ers. None. N-U-N-N. None. The second problem that I have, Daryl Morey is in charge. And when there's a trade deadline, and when there's Daryl Morey, there's going to be some issues. Lots of them. Trust the process. Trust the process, my ass. I'll never trust the process. Ever. I don't care what you all say. I don't care what Sixer fans say to me. Unless I see it, I will never believe it. Because in 2021, you had the number 1 seed in the East, and you could have walked to the NBA World Championship Series. You could have walked there. Instead, you fell flat on your ass. Let me say that again. For those of you that didn't believe what I said, let me say that again. You had the number 1 seed all to yourself. And in the second round, you fell flat on your ass. And you got beat by an Atlanta Hawks team that barely got in as the number 6 seed. You beat a team that barely got into the playoffs. And then that happened. And that happened. Good grief. I mean, how much more? What more can I say? The alpha is Tyrese Maxey, and it needs to stay that way. Period. It needs to stay that way. And you know what else needs? You know what else needs to happen? Philadelphia needs to get some dogs on that team. They need to get some dogs on that team, because aside of Maxey and by default, Joel Embiid, because I don't think Paul George is a dog. I think Paul George is pandemic P. And they will be nowhere near the playoffs. And if they get to the playoffs, they won't have a significant run. When they get to the playoffs, they won't have a significant run. First or second round at best. Okay? They're not it. And they never will be it. End of story. Oh, and by the way, and I'm going to get in trouble for this. By the way, Joel Embiid, you a bitch. I might have to do another list today. But I'll say it again. Joel Embiid, you a bitch. And you will always be one until you find the mental capacity to carry this team further than they have gone in the last 4 playoff appearances. And ask that. That's Snowman's take. What is yours? I may have another one to close the show, so hold on to your ears. Let's take a break, and when we come back, I do have another Snowman's take. But it is not on who you think it is. Listen carefully when we come back.
I want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. Live every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central.
Hey everybody, Snowman here. Looking for the best way to experience live events? Well, SeatGeek has you covered. With just a few taps on your phone, you can find the best seats for concerts, sports, theater, and more. Don't miss out on unforgettable moments. Download the SeatGeek app today and get ready for an experience like no other. Each ticket is vetted for authenticity and ranked on a 1 to 10 scale. And right now, if you sign up and use the code Snowman, you will get $20 off of your first purchase. That's only through the power of SeatGeek, where fans can fan.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
I was hoping this guy would get here.
Passionate.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Unflinching.
Let's go back to losing. Parking was easier.
Unrelenting.
They're not gonna keep him off the field tonight!
Totally.
This one has a chance!
Deeds.
That's not just a murmur, that's a full-blown fibrillation.
Here's Deets. What's up, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, Snowman?
First of all, let me show you a little love and throw you some flowers. This is our 8th season together covering college football. You have been there with me and for me, even when I was homeless, trying to keep the show alive. When I lived in a hotel up in Michigan City, we got together. You were on my heels saying you got to get back on the mic, because when I was homeless 6 years ago, I took a little semi-retirement and Deets said, football season's here. You got to put an intro together and we got to go. So here we are. I love you, Deets. Thanks for sticking with me. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. It's always fun, and you know, Saturdays are back.
Yes, they are.
And what a Saturday it was to open it up.
Tell me your biggest surprises from week one.
The biggest surprise, of course, I would say the best thing. You know how I do things. I usually do best and worst. So
yep, let's do it.
The best thing I saw was Georgia, and especially, especially the running back, true freshman running back runs for 140 yards.
140.
I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that. Of course, the worst thing is Florida State is 0-2. Right? and to be a top 10 team, and in the first week of the season, you're in that span of time, they lost to Georgia Tech over in Ireland, and then they come home and lose to Boston College. That
on a nationally televised game.
And you know what? I mean, for Florida State, like it couldn't happen to anybody. It couldn't happen to anybody better. I mean, after what they did after how they ended last season, I'm not going to feel bad for them.
Me neither.
You know, the way they decided not to show up for the Orange Bowl last year, they reap whatever they sow.
They're getting what they deserve.
You know how they say it. Karma's know what.
Karma's a bitch, and it's putting a foot in Florida State's ass.
Yes, but I gotta tell you, I watch these games, and the way I was watching games is the way I watch games now is I just watch them on YouTube.
Yes,
because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's how I watch them.
And the best part about it is when you're watching it on YouTube, you get the chat on the side. You get a little chat on the side of the street.
Yes.
You see some of the funniest things ever.
Yeah, you do.
And I gotta call some of them out right now.
Please do.
I'm watching Georgia versus Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia is up.
That's the game me and Jody watched.
Georgia's up 6-0 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, both teams come out. It's a little bit feeling each other out, defensive struggle, whatever.
Right.
Not just one person, but the chat is flooded. The chat is just flooded with Georgia plays like this. They're not going to make the playoffs. If Georgia plays like this, they're not going to make the playoffs.
I saw that. I saw all of that.
I'm like, it's the first half of the first game.
Yes.
And and then Georgia comes out and scores 31 unanswered. And I'm like, well, that didn't live long.
Nope.
They looked like the most dominant team in the second half. They looked like the best team.
They look like they're worthy of the number one ranking, and they are. And they are. And let's stick with Georgia for a moment. Georgia is loaded. Okay, don't let the departure of Brock Bowers and a few other players fool you. They have some players that can play in that spot, in the spots that have been vacated. So you can't say that if they keep playing like this, they won't make the playoffs. They're the number one team in the country.
And their best player was suspended.
Yep.
Their best player
was suspended.
Is a guy who transferred in. It's ATN, and I don't even know his first name. It's Travis Etienne's brother. So, he was suspended. So what do? They plug in a freshman guy, and all he does is run for 140 yards.
Exactly.
And Carson Beck looked like the best quarterback in the country. They are loaded. And Jalen Walker, just know that name because that guy was a monster on Saturday.
Yes,
and that defense. Indeed. That defense was. It was funny because you're looking at everybody and they're like, if Georgia keeps playing this way, I'm like, what? If they keep shutting people out, if they shut people out, they're going to be fine.
Yeah,
it was 6-0. I was like, what are you people talking about? But then the next game I watched was Miami and Miami, Florida. And yeah, all right, Florida, not a good team this year, but Miami goes in. Anytime you go into the swamp and steamroll Florida, that's a big deal.
It is.
But yeah, Florida's not that good.
No.
But all you saw the entire game was fans coming in. Cam Ward is the best. Cam Ward's going to go number one. Cam Ward's going to do this. I'm like, guys, it's the first game. I was
exactly. Like, it's not even October yet.
I was like, guys, you realize Carson Beck exists. You realize the kid at Texas exists.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Ward, he had a great game.
He's not
the best player in the country.
You realize Dylan Gabriel, who's taking another shot at this at Oregon, exists. Well, those are the three quarterbacks that the preseason pundits that I like to call highlighted as Heisman Trophy candidates: Dylan Gabriel, Carson Beck, and who else did we just say? It was Dylan Gabriel from Oregon,
Carson Beck, and Ewers from Texas.
Thank you, Ewers from Texas. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But the chats are stupid, but they're also funnier and all get out.
That's
how I watch.
It's really amazing.
I watch the games on YouTube also. That's how I do it. and the chat is just stupid funny. All right, with some of the things that they're thinking. Seriously.
And then, of course, the nightcap. I watched Notre Dame, and anytime you get into a Notre Dame game, anytime you watch a Notre Dame game, you get all the people coming in. Notre Dame needs to join the Big Ten. All right, look. I mean,
what?
This is the funny thing that people have is they need to. No, you want Notre Dame to join the Big Ten,
right?
Okay? I get it.
Say that again. Say that again for those of us in the cheap seats at Old Soldier Field. Say that again.
I get it. I get it. Fans want Notre Dame to be in a conference. They don't want Notre Dame to be the lone stallion that they are. But here's the thing: Notre Dame does not need the Big Ten.
No, they don't.
This is what people don't understand: is the conferences are not there to make the teams.
Right.
Conferences are there for teams to make money. That's it. That's the only reason they exist.
Yeah.
Is so that people can play teams around them, so that smaller teams can get the big teams to come to them and play. That's it.
Yeah.
Notre Dame doesn't need that. Notre Dame doesn't have that problem. Notre Dame
has been independent as long as I've known them, except the COVID year when they joined the ACC.
That's the only reason they have. That's the only reason they play the ACC is because of COVID.
Right.
That's it. That's the only reason the ACC teams are on their schedule is because they made that deal during COVID when they couldn't play anybody, and they had to be in a conference. So in a conference, so they just jumped in the ACC for reasons, but the only reason conferences exist is for television.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Notre Dame has their own TV. They have their own TV contract,
and they've always had their own. Beginning in 1990. They've always had their own TV contract. They've been exclusive to NBC since 1990.
Yeah.
And they're not changing that. Come on now. They're not changing that.
Because even if you look at their contract, the Big Ten is contracted out. The Big Ten has they have a deal with ESPN where night games are on ESPN. They have a deal with NBC where night game, or they have a special game on NBC, and they have a deal with, I think they have a deal with Fox where they have the big game at noon. In all of those contracts that the Big Ten has, it gets split up between the 16 teams that are in there.
Right.
And Notre Dame's NBC contract is bigger than both of them combined.
Yep.
All of the Big Ten's media network combined is not even it doesn't even match Notre Dame. And they don't have to split it with anybody. They get the entire thing.
They get the entire bundle.
So but the thing I've been looking at, and I was looking at it all weekend, because we saw it on game day. We saw him break it down on game day. We saw him break it down all weekend. Was here's how the playoff is going to work. Here's how the 12-team playoff is going to work. Yep. And they kept saying, and I didn't catch any of this, but they kept saying, the teams that get the bye are going to be the four best conference champions. Well. And I kept catching this because during the BCS, they always used to say conference champions or Notre Dame. Notre Dame was an exception.
Yeah.
I did not hear that. I did not hear that 4 conference champions or Notre Dame. My big question is, what happens if Notre Dame runs the table? What happens if Notre Dame is 12-0
Are you
at
going
the
to
end of the season?
Are you going to exclude them from the playoffs just because?
Do they get? Well, they wouldn't be excluded from the playoff. The question is, would they get the bye? Would they get that bye? Would they have to play in round? Are they forced to play in round 1, or do they have to be in a conference to get it? And that I don't know, because it always used to be, the Power 5 plus Notre Dame. There was always a Notre Dame exception.
Yep.
I did not hear that at all this weekend, so I'm wondering how that's going to work, because we all know it, right? And we got a long way to go. We know it's only week 1.
Yes.
But Notre Dame is going to be favored in every single game they play for the rest of the year. They just won their hardest game at College Station
and Texas A&M. Yep.
If they run the table and are undefeated and are clear-cut number 1, will they get bumped by the fact that they're not a conference, that they don't have a conference? That would be, if that happens,
that would start a war.
Well, that would be the only thing that I think would push them to say, hey, we need to get in a conference because we need to have that bye. That would be the only thing that would push them towards, all right, we need to enter a conference. And I do agree with people. If they were to, as I've said, I'm a Notre Dame supporter. Again, I'm not a fan. I don't ride or die, but I do love to watch Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And as somebody who is a supporter of Notre Dame, I would love to see them in the Big Ten to play, especially with USC in there now, because then you have Purdue, Michigan State, USC, all in the same conference. You have 4 rivals right there. You're playing them every year. You throw Boston College onto the schedule. You have 5 rivalry games every single year.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense.
It does.
But, if they were to join the ACC, that would be a big, no matter who gets Notre Dame would be a big win. But I just wonder about this playoff, how that's going to happen. But, we got a long road to go before the playoffs. But it was just weird that they kept saying, they did it every game, and they did it a bunch of times. Oh, here's the new playoff format, and here's why winning the conference will matter. Again, I'm interested to see how this works for the first year, and we'll see how it goes. But that bye week is really strange right now.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, we're out of time. We got to get out of here, but I promise Dietz will come back later this week. I want to have you back on Friday during our Mega Football Friday Spectacular. We'll go over some college football games. We'll preview some games for week 2. And I just love having you. College football with Chris Dietz. It doesn't get any better than that. I thank you, partner, so much. I love you, and I will see you later this week.
Thank you. And of course, the big game Friday night.
Big one Friday night. We will
big
talk
one
about
Friday night. The Blue Devils come calling.
And my Northwestern Wildcats, who put up a great defensive effort last weekend. All right, Dietz. I'll see you Friday.
All right, man.
Passionate.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Unflinching.
Let's go back to losing. Parking was easier.
Unrelenting.
They're not going to keep him off the field tonight.
Totally.
This one has a chance.
Dietz.
That's not just a murmur, that's a full-blown fibrillation.
All right, we better giddy up. I'm getting the word in my ear. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, they are simply not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. We are, and we hope you all are too. So long, everybody.